Hey residents of MeepleTown, it is right after AD 64 and we are in Rome, and Rome has almost been burned to the ground, and we are trying to rebuild Rome in Roman role. And if we are the ones that can help rebuild it the best, then we are going to be Nero's right-hand man and the winners of the game. So let's get to the table and check out Roman role. Okay, here is the setup for Roman role. We've got the main map board here. We each have our own player boards, and these are different. I'll explain how those work here in a little bit. We've got these buildings up here that we can build, and then we have these gods that we can gain favor from for building the different building shrines into Rome. And this is the exact setup that we have in the book. It's been a while since I've played with these buildings, but these will probably be the ones that you would play the first time that you play if you go based on what the book has set up. But there's lots of different buildings in the box for the different army buildings and the urban and manufacturing buildings. The religious building is going to be the same every time, and then you'll have a different leisure building out there. Right now we have the plaza. So this is a roll and write game, and what we're going to do is first we're going to do some dice drafting. And so we have the pro council here. This is Legatus is the this player. This will be player one, the blue player, and then we will have as the green player, we'll be playing with Mercatrix, and I'll explain the differences between what they're going to do as we go. We're just going to play through a little bit of this just to show you all the actions and what they do. But the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to roll these dice. In a two-player game, you're going to have 2 yellow, 2 blue, and 1 red. And the Pro Council will draft a die first. And then the second player is a 2-player game. Second player is going to get 2. And then back over to the Pro Council, we'll take another die. And I'll explain what all of those do once we get there. So let's see. I think what I'm going to do is, let's see. Legatus really is one for building up the army. And so that's kind of what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to get some of the army buildings out there to help me build up my army to get more soldiers. And so I'm either going to want to build the training ground or the engineering post. And I think what I'm going to do right off the bat, I don't start off with any stone, and I will need that. And so I think what I'm going to do, since I don't have any stone and there's nothing out there, I think I'm just going to, let's see, I will take this architect. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll take the building that will allow me to, the die that will allow me to do multiple different actions and potentially get to build for cheaper. So now back over to second player. The green player is going to take, let's see, 2 dice, and right off the bat they're going to take this one. And right now they're just taking them. They're not taking the actions, as you can see. I'll show you how those work in just a minute. These two are the same. I don't have much brick. I do have some wood, and so I kind of think brick is a little harder to come by unless you have the brick maker built. And so I think what they're going to do is take this blue one, and then we will not be using these dice for this round. And so, oh, sorry, I didn't take my die yet. We will not be using this die for this round. Okay, now again, starting with the Pro Council, they're going to take an action, and one main action, and then as many free actions as they want to take after that. And then second player will do the same thing. Back over the first player, second player, and then we'll do the dice drafting all over again until we hit the end game condition, and that's once this Nero pile is gone. That will trigger the end of the game, and then you'll play one more round after that. So let me go ahead and show you what some of these actions are. The first action that we could take is the construct action, and the construct action allows you to build any of these buildings out onto the board, and you're going to be drawing them out there. Excuse me. Now, if they have one of these meeples out there, and I'm just going to call them meeples because they both have one's a foreman and one's something else. I can't remember what they are. Once you have the meeple out here on the card, the blue player cannot just take the build action and build on that one because somebody's already there. If they use the architect symbol from this die, I'm not sure if you can see that, but that little arrow thing will allow them to build in the same spot that somebody else is. But yeah, I think this is the foreman. Yeah, it doesn't matter. If I use that same architect die on another card, I can actually build that card for one cheaper. And I kind of think that that's what I'm going to do. I just need to decide which one I'm going to build. Now again, I need to be able to have stone if I want to use the engineering post to be able to gain more of those of the soldiers. And those, they will give you 2 at a time, which is actually really nice. I kind of like that. Training ground will allow you, once you take that action, to be able to gain just 1 soldier. But again, if I build the market will allow me to gain 2 wood, brick, or stone, and then you can spend those to gain a jewelry. Ooh, this is tough. However, the market really benefits me more if I'm able to build it to at least 1 army building. So I think I might go ahead and try to get that army building out first. And I do think that I'm going to kind of go that stone route, gain stone, use that stone to spend it to buy workers, buy soldiers. So I'm going to build the engineering post. That's going to cost me 1 wood and 2 bricks. And as you can see, I only have 1 wood and 1 brick. I'm using this one. This one's not going to give me any resources. But again, it will allow me to build for 1 cheaper. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend my wood and my brick, and then I'll use that other brick. I won't have to have the other brick because I have that die. And so if you look on the board, you can see that it has all the actions laid out here, and it actually tells you exactly how to take each of those actions, which is really helpful because there's a decent amount going on in this game, and to be able to remember the rules might be kind of tricky, and so it's nice to have those all kind of laid out. So this says optionally you can move your overseer. This is right. This is your overseer. So you can move your overseer, and you will have to move your overseer to an adjacent spot to where you're building. Now, right now, if we're building out of the forum, which is the only place that we can build out of, then we don't move them on this time. And then each move after is going to cost you 1 fish. So you can move farther than just one, not just 1 space, but 1 building beyond, but each one after the first one is going to cost you 1 fish. Okay, then I'm going to draw the building adjacent to that overseer. In this case, it's going to show you that this is a 2x2 building. And these white areas are swamp, marshland, something along those lines. And you can build this one specifically, you can build in the marshland. There's no restrictions on how you build this one. You can also, these different colored areas are hills, and you can build in the hills as long as you're not straddling 2 different hills. So I couldn't be able to build one here. Now I can straddle a hill. Let me just go ahead and show you. I can do this where I'm kind of in the marshland and partly on the hill, as long as, again, I'm just on 1 hill. Whoop. Fell off there. You also have the wall that goes through here, and you can build on the other side of the wall. Obviously, you can't build it over top of the wall, but if I'm right here, then it is considered adjacent to the other side. Same thing that goes for the bridges over here. And sometimes it matters where you build. You can get points for different areas. I'll explain that once we get to some of those buildings. And then what you're going to do is it's got 2 letters, and I'm going to put EP here. So that is for the engineering post. So I'm going to build that. And again, I built it for a discount of 1. Then what you're going to do is take your overseer, you're going to move it onto that building. And then you're going to score 1 point for building, which means I'm just going to draw a line under there. And this is also going to trigger the, trigger the end of the game. I'll explain that in just a second after we finish this action. Then if it has any immediate triggers with a lightning bolt like this one does on the shrine, then you would take that action. And then the last thing is you're going to trigger adjacent buildings, trigger their gear, so their action. If any adjacent building has an action, you're going to trigger that. And then you also will gain a senator if you build adjacent to an opponent's building. This is the first building, so there's no senators that we're going to be gaining this time. And so that will be my entire action. And then I could take free actions, but I don't have any actions to take right now. So when this building is now triggered in the future, when I take the Legion action, I'll explain that in a little bit too, then I will be able to spend stone to be able to gain soldiers. Now another thing to keep in mind is they each have points, not all of them, but most of them will have points at the bottom if you meet certain conditions. So this one, for example, it says per region where you have roads. So if I have roads in different regions, I'm going to get 1 point per region when I take the expand action. So that's the construct action. Probably the most lengthy of all of these, a little more to explain, but I hope that gives you a good idea. I'll explain this too in just a minute, since I think with player 2, now they have just 2 resources on this red die that they can take, which is nice, but they're not going to help them with anything else yet. And so I think what I'm going to do, let's see. Okay, I think I'm just going to also take this build action. Now this one is just the hammer, so it's not the architect, which means I can't build at a discount and I can't build in another space with that hammer. All right, now I didn't mention this, but I cannot also build in this same area. I'm gonna have to move him to one of these different buildings to build, which is unfortunate because the shrine is a nice one to be able to build for points right off the bat, but also it allows you to gain one of the god's favors, and I will explain that in a little bit as well. Now the focus of the Mercatrix is that they're powerful foreign traders and expert in amassing cloth and coins, and they start with additional resources. A lot of what they're going to be doing is building, and they get different bonuses for building in certain areas, but they're also going to be able to, when they take the expand action, when they move down to these different regions, they'll be able to gain the resource from that and then do other things when they expand. Now I'm not going to get to that yet, but it's good to know that that's something I'm keeping in mind, that I want to be able to expand into the different regions, but I also need to be able to open up these bonuses. So I think what I'm going to do right off the bat, instead of doing what I said I was going to do, is I'm going to take this die. Now this has a jewelry and a basket. A basket can count as any of the resources except jewelry. And you also can use baskets for bribing advisors. And so all I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to use those to bribe an advisor, but I also am able to, I didn't quite think about this. Let's see. I didn't quite think about this. I think what I'm going to do is forego that main action. I could use the basket to count as a wood, and if I do that, I can trade in those wood for coins, which would help me. Yeah, what the hey, I'm gonna go ahead and do that because I might not take that action anyway. So I will turn that basket into a wood, which means I would put a W on here for wood. I'm going to take the trade action, which says spend 3 matching resources, and that's gonna gain you 3 coins. Okay, if you use the jewelry, you can count the jewelry as wild. I don't have any jewelry on here. I can use this jewelry that I have on the die, but I don't think I'm going to do that because I'd rather use that to bribe an advisor, which opens up new bonuses for me throughout the game. And if you also use the hand symbol, you see it on this blue die here, if you use this one, that's going to allow you to score an additional coin per jewelry that you use. So potentially you can get 6 coins from that action if you spend 3 jewelry and use that hand icon. I don't have that, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to spend 3 wood, 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to take 3 coins down here, 1, 2, 3. Okay, let me explain why I'm going to do that. Oh, and then the last thing I'm going to do is take put a J in here for that extra jewelry that we have. Nope, I take that back. Sorry, I'm not going to keep that jewelry. I'm going to spend the jewelry, like I said, to bribe an advisor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cross out this one right here, and then if I cross out the next one, that means I get this bonus that says I get the region's resource whenever I take the expand action. Okay. Let me explain why you want to cross off these down here. So at the end of the game, obviously, I already said this, you're going to try to get the most points, and you're going to get points. Sorry, this is the green player. I was using the blue marker, so let me just go ahead and change that real fast. I'll keep all those other ones on there. It really doesn't matter except for when you're putting your buildings out on the board. At the end of the game, you're going to get points for each one of these that you've crossed off. So right now I've got 3 points because I have 3 coins. And so each of those tracks you'll be able to get, except the soldiers and the senators, that's something a little bit different. But for the buildings, for the expand, for the conquering, and then for the conquering, expand, and the coins, you're going to get points for all of those. But also, if you notice, there's blue boxes on here. I'm not sure if you can see that really well, but there are little blue boxes on there, and they're different for each of the boards. Whenever you reach one of those boxes, then you're going to take the Nero card, which is the next Nero card. So this, in a two-player game, we've got a 7, 4, and a 2. So if I were to reach this blue box, I'm going to take this. That's going to give me 7 points at the end of the game. Once all of these cards are gone, meaning that we've reached 3 different boxes, then that will trigger the end of the game, and then we'll have one more round after that. Okay, all I've done is 2 actions so far. We'll discard these, back over to the Pro Council. Pro Council has already built, and I didn't think about this. I probably should have used this action instead of that other one to do the engineering post. It's too late for that. Now I can use the expand to renovate roads. You can use the hammer to renovate roads. However, you have to have conquered lands, conquered territories out here to be able to expand those roads. And I don't have any of that. So I think what I'm going to do is I might just end up taking these 2 wood, putting those in the storehouse. That's one of the free actions that you can do. And then I'm not going to do anything else but do that. I probably should have reversed what I did so that I could have used the Legion action on this one, but I'll explain that next. So that's all I'm going to do for this one. Now back over to the second player. Second player is going to, has a brick, has 2 bricks and a fish. What can I get with 2 bricks? Well, I can get the shrine, but I don't have any, but I can't move my, foreman because he's already right there. So I think I'm also just going to take this brick, and that will be my entire turn, and that will hopefully set me up for things that I'm going to do a little bit later, and I'll explain what some of these other actions do. So let me go ahead and roll these again. The Pro Council is going to go to the second player, make sure that's still up there. So then we're just going to roll these dice again. I'm going to do some drafting again. Now player 2 really would like to be able to build something better than what they have. So they're looking for an architect symbol, but there is nothing on there. Building would help too because this has wood. So they might, yep, they're going to go ahead and do this. So they're going to take that. Then this player will take 2 dice. And I would like to take the Legion action, so I'm going to take this. And that will be really helpful, actually. And then I'm going to take this one to hopefully be able to conquer. And then, ooh, this is really tricky. Yeah, I think they're just going to take these 2 baskets since they already have what they need to be able to build there. Okay, that drafting part's done, so the Pro Council is going to take their action. So they're going to, let's see, do they want to build right off the bat? Or would they rather go ahead and take those 2 resources? I think I might have what I need. I've got some bricks. I've got 2 bricks and a wood. Spend any 2 resources to gain a coin, and ooh, that's pretty helpful to build that. But I also think, this is a little tricky. I think I'm going to build, yes, I'll build with those 2 wood. So I've got 2 wood and 2 brick. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to build the market. And I think what I'm going to do, the market is a little weirder in how it's, the layout is a little stranger. And if you remember, whenever you build next to somebody, it's going to trigger their action, but they don't have any actions from that specific card from the engineering post that they have out there. But I will gain a senator, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to spend those 2. First, I'm going to move my foreman. I don't need to move my overseer because he's already in the place that he needs to be. I'm going to put this over. Where did I say I was going to build? Here. The market. Yes. Yeah, that'll be really helpful. So I'm going to build that right here. And that is, let's see, 1, 2, 3. There we go. and I'm going to put an MK on there for the market. This is mine, and I will immediately gain a jewelry because that's what happens when you build the market. And I am next to an army building. Sorry, because I'm next to an army building, I get to gain that jewelry, which is what the market says. I will gain a building point, and then I will also trigger the building, which it's not going to trigger because it doesn't have that little symbol on there for the triggering. And then I'm going to gain a senator because I built next to an opponent's building. Now, what a senator does is during the draft, I can do a double draft, and then before an action, I can deploy. Deploy to gain an extra action, so I can get rid of the senator to basically take an extra build. What is that one? Trade or Legion action. So anyway, that is the green player's turn. Back over to the blue player, and the blue player now thinks that they might go ahead and do some conquering and also maybe even some expanding. I think I'll be able to do that. No, I will not be able to expand. Sorry, I don't have the symbol for that. So I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'll get these extra resources that I'm going to need a little bit later. So this one has a fish, a stone, and it also has the Legion action, Raise Legion action. So I'm going to go ahead and do that one. So with the Raise Legion action, you can activate cards that have that Legion on up to 3 different army buildings. Well, we only have 1 out there, but I do have the stone that I need now to be able to get the extra resources. So I will do that. So I'm going to activate this army building. It's not the most efficient right now, maybe because I might want to get some more army buildings out there. You also can trigger other people's armies buildings, and they're going to gain a coin if theirs is triggered. If you take that action. So what I'm going to do is turn that stone right here to gain 2 soldiers. 1, 2. And then I also have a fish left over. I'm going to use this fish to take this one. Now, I can bribe any of these advisors, but I didn't mention this: when you bribe an advisor, it costs a jewelry, a fish, or a basket. You can't use that from the storage. It has to come directly from the die. So that will be my turn. Then over to, let's see, yep, then over to the green player. They've got 2 baskets here. Now with those, there's no symbol, action symbol, so but they can conquer. They can, they can conquer, they can tax, or they can trade. Now, if you tax, we're not there yet, but when you tax these connected settlements in these different regions, but we don't have anything going on down there, so I can't do that. And I probably won't be able to do that in this game, but that's just to give you an idea of what that does. But then I can trade in different resources. I'm actually not going to do that right now. I'm going to take these 2 baskets. I'm going to use one to fill in this second circle. Erase that blue one first. And then the second basket I'm going to use to start on this next one. So as I'm bribing these advisors, again, I'm going to get special abilities as we go. But right now it says when taking an expand action, I'm going to gain the region's resource. So if I expand, then that's what's going to happen. If you get the 5th circle filled in for any of these or all of these, they're going to be 4 points apiece, which is a lot. That's 4 points is a lot, especially most of the buildings aren't going to give you that much. All right, back over to the blue player. They're going to take their next action, and I think what they're going to do is they're going to conquer. They've actually got 3 of these different soldiers now, and if you see this arrow on here, I don't know if you can see that on there, that one's going to count as another soldier that I can use. So right now I've got 3 plus that one is going to be 4, and so I can go in and conquer a couple of these different territories. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this region here. I'll do that. This one's going to give me brick, but I'm going to use this extra, so 4 of those. I'm going to use that extra one there. I'm going to go, I'll just go here. You have to start from, I'll just cross it off so you can see it on there. So that one's 2 and that one's 2. So I've conquered 2 of the different territories there, and for each one that I conquer, a soldier is going to be is going to be garrisoned, so now I only have one left over after that battle. And then if you see, each of these has one flag on them, and so I will cross off this one and this one to show that I've now crossed off two of those conquered symbols on there. Those are points at the end of the game, but again, if I get to 9 on this one, then I'm going to be able to get one of the Nero cards. So you're going to keep going back and forth doing this. Now, one of the other actions that we didn't show, and I'll show it right now. Let's pretend that I had a stone here, and I took the hammer action. This will be the blue player. If they took a die, if they took a die that had the hammer on it, then I can spend a stone to then lead this road up to this conquered territory. And you have to conquer territories before you can expand your roads out to them. And then when I've done that, I'm going to gain that point on the renovation track to show that I renovated that road. Now, if I were to spend 2 stones, I could have built there and then built here. And what that happens is I've got 2 here, so 1, 2, 3. So I would cross off 3 here. Plus, if you renovate 2 or more roads on a single action, you gain an additional 2. So I'd have been able to cross off 5 of these on here, giving me a lot of points in that one turn. But then also, because I then connected this territory, the settlement to Rome, so Rome is up here, right? Anything that these roads lead up to here, that's going to Rome. If it connects here for the first time, I'm going to gain the resource from this region. So by doing this and this, I'm going to gain 2 bricks into my, that I can have to use for that turn, or put them in my storehouse if I want to do that. So anyway, you're going to, again, keep going back and forth and taking your turns until you trigger all of these Nero cards being gone. So the other thing you can do is you can, when you build a shrine, then you can take one of these God Favor cards and they'll give you a bonus that's like a one-time use card. So for example, if I take Mars, this lets me get 2 soldiers when I'm conquering, or I can gain 2 soldiers when I'm raising legions. So you can take any of these 3. If you are the Legatus, you also have this other option of this Saturn card that's out there, but nobody else can take that card. That's another one of their special abilities, and that pretty much covers it. I mean, there's other things going on. The different buildings do lots of different things, gaining you resources. You're going to be trading those resources in to gain coins. You're going to be conquering and building and renovating these roads. All of these things really just to give you points at the end of the game. And again, you're going to get points for these different tracks. You're going to get points for the cards that are listed at the bottom, and then points from the Nero cards, and then potentially a few points from the soldiers and senators that you might have left over at the end of the game. Okay, so the art and components. This is a roll and write game. Okay, there's a lot of game going on in this one. Now this box is, as you can see, thin. It's a small box, and I know that people don't love that, because this is a heavier game. Some people would rather have the resources instead of writing them on your board. They might think, yeah, I want to actually have these little bricks or these stones or whatever to spend these resources, and I want to put buildings out on the board instead of drawing them out there. And I think that this game is kind of a turnoff for some people because of that. Initially, I thought I was going to feel the same way, but then I started playing this game and I was really impressed by how much I liked the fact that it was a roll and write. I liked that you were drawing things out here. I liked that you were marking things on your board, because again, it comes in such a small box, and everything just seemed to work well with the components of this game. The art on the cards doesn't really grab me, but there's not a lot on there. There's the Nero, there's the Proconsul, the God's Favor, the buildings. It's fine, but it's nothing that's like blowing my socks off. I do like the cover of the box. I think it looks, there we go, I think it looks pretty nice. I like how you have the little dice down there, the pen on there, but anyway, it's nothing that's like, knocking my socks off, but I kind of dig the fact that it is a roll and write, that it's a heavier roll and write that fits in a smaller box where you don't have to have this huge box with all these components. So that is a personal preference, but onto the gameplay, does it match up? As you know, I tend to like kind of the mid-weight games, and this probably is maybe on the heavier side of that, especially for a roll and write. I guess it's a little bit deceiving. When you play a roll and write, you think, wow, this is something that needs to be a little bit lighter, where you're just like rolling dice and marking things on your sheet, because that's usually what roll and writes are. But what I like about this one is it pushes the limits on that, right? It pushes the boundaries on what a roll and write should be, and breaks into this area of I would say higher end of midweight, so middle heavyweight game. And I like that. I think it's cool. Now, again, that could be a turnoff for somebody if you're expecting something a little bit lighter from a roll and write. But I like, when you look at the board, there's a lot of text on here, but because the game does have some, I wouldn't say fiddly rules, but each action that you take has several steps and several different rules that go along with that. It's really nice that it has it listed on the board to tell you exactly what you need to do, which means that you won't have to refer back to the rule book a whole lot. I like the advisors, how they change up and drastically, right? Legatus is really focused on building up armies. And that means with those armies, I'm going to be conquering a lot here, and then I'm going to be renovating those roads, and I like that, right? I think that's cool, and it feels like I'm playing a different game with this character than I do with the Mercatrix, which is focused more on trading, on foreign trading, gaining resources from these areas, from expanding, right? Once a territory is conquered, like if Legatus is going to conquer a territory, this character might come in and start expanding and renovating those roads around it, kind of sweeping up some points, but also gaining resources from doing that because that's what their specialty is. And I'm also going to be gaining, a lot of coins potentially, and spending those a lot of resources that allow me to gain coins from those resources, and I like that. I think that's really cool. I tend to like when you have a little bit of asynchronous gameplay in games. Now you are doing the same things, but you have these special abilities that change that up for you, and I think it's cool, and it makes you want to try out all the different factions that you can play. I like that the buildings are very different. Again, the shrine, you're only going to have one. I'd like to see more of those, but honestly, you have so much variety in these other buildings, it's not that big of a deal. And the fact that the shrine really just is going to gain you the God's favor cards, it's fine, and I like the God's favor cards, how that can change things up. But everything you do is very thoughtful. Where you build, if you're going to build next to somebody, if you're going to build a, what is it? It's a harbor. I guess the harbor is not in this one, but if you build a harbor, you have to be next to water. And so you might think, I need to build out this way so I can build a harbor and start getting some fish. But the way that you build matters in this game. The placement of the buildings that give you points, or if you're building next to somebody. But you're going to have to build buildings that really go along with your strategy, and I think that's really interesting. Which resources you might want to store. Like, do I want to store a fish, or do I want to use that fish to bribe an advisor? Because that's going to help me, potentially gain points at the end of the game, but also it's going to help me get better actions whenever I take those actions, and I really think that's cool. There's a lot to really like about this game, but again, if you're looking for something that's a little bit lighter because it's a roll and write, this is not going to be for you. And if you like Euro games, but you don't like the idea of having to write everything out, it's tough, because I know that people are going to have a problem with that. They might say, I would just rather play a board game that's, with pieces, with meeples and all of that. I thought that at first too, but then I really have ended up enjoying this one quite a bit. And I didn't even mention this, but this is a solo game. You can play this solo. It's got a deck of cards that you flip over, and it tells you what dice they're going to draft and what actions they're going to take, but you can also use that in a two-player game. But I've played this solo multiple times now, and I've really enjoyed every play of it. I played it two-player multiple times, and I've really enjoyed every play of it. So with those things out of the way, the roll and write piece and I would rather have just a regular board game, if you can get past that, I think this is a really enjoyable experience, and one that even if I just play this solo, I feel like I'm getting a lot out of this game. So anyway, overall, I really enjoy my plays. Moving into my final thoughts, I enjoy the dice drafting. I enjoy building on the map. I enjoy thinking through how you're going to use your advisors, how you're going to the strategy you're going to take to move up on these different tracks. All of those things I've really enjoyed. I recommend this game quite a bit. I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10. I quite enjoy it. David Turtsky is really crushing it as far as I'm concerned. A designer that I have my eye on every time something he puts out, because I've just been impressed with so much that he's been doing over the last little while. So anyway, I definitely recommend this game. I didn't even mention this, but this is the 1 to 2 player side of the board. If you add in the third and fourth player, then you're going to have this bigger space on here, and Anyway, just something to keep in mind. So anyway, 8 out of 10 for me. Really recommend this one. If you'd like to get in touch with us, definitely I would recommend that you go to our website. That's MeepleTownGames.com. You can also connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's at MeepleTown Games. You can also go to our guild at 3407. And I also want to do this little pitch. If you are interested in supporting the channel, beyond just connecting with us in that area, we just started a Patreon, and we would encourage you to head over onto the Patreon and support us in that way if you can and are enjoying our content. So anyway, that's going to do it for this time. Thanks for coming down to MeepleTown.
Thanks for joining us, and be sure to follow us on Twitter at MeepleTown Games, and connect with us on the MeepleTown Guild, guild number 3407, at BoardGameGeek.com. And also subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channel. And until next time, thanks for coming down to MeepleTown.